Welcome to The Explainer. So today we're going to do something a little different. Let's imagine we've just found a historical document, our one and only key to understanding a totally lost civilization. But here's the twist. The artifact isn't some ancient stone tablet. It's the diary of a pig named Paul. So we're going to approach this diary like it's a serious anthropological find. And the big question we're asking is, can we actually piece together an entire society just by reading about the daily life of one of its citizens? Well, let's find out. Okay, so our entire investigation, everything we're about to learn, it all comes down to this one single artifact, a personal diary. It's a first-hand account of the author's life, his culture, and the world as he sees it. And here he is. Meet Paul. He tells us he's a fun pig who's into absolutely random stuff. He's our narrator, our guide, and you gotta remember, everything we're about to uncover, their economy, their schools, even their foreign policy, it's all coming to us through his eyes. So how do you even begin to build a picture of an entire civilization from something like this? Well, we're gonna start with Paul's day-to-day routine, and we'll be on the lookout for any clues about the economic and social structures of his world. Our very first clue is all about food. Paul casually mentions eating grass switches for breakfast. Now that name alone tells us a ton. A compound food, a grass switch, that implies farming. It implies processing and preparation. This is way more advanced than just, foraging for grass. And check this out. This little detail points to a full-blown economy. When Paul heads to the market, he brings 20 piggy dollars. Think about that. This isn't some simple barter system. Having a named currency, piggy dollars, suggests a centralized economic structure with some kind of standardized value. And look at the variety here. The market's called a pig's dream, and it offers different types of grass, like Kentucky bluegrass and lemongrass, not to mention other vegetables and fruits. This points to a really sophisticated supply chain, and probably an agricultural sector that's producing more than enough to go around. We can even start to see their cultural values. When Paul grews an apple for lunch, the reaction he describes isn't just, "Oh, that's nice." It's pure awe. He calls it glorious. This tells us that certain goods, like a perfect apple, are probably seen as real luxuries, maybe even a status symbol. Okay, so let's zoom out from Paul's personal life and look at their institutions. His diary gives us this incredible detailed look inside their formal education system, which he just calls PS, for pig school. Just take a second to look at this curriculum. It's incredibly diverse. They're studying their own history, sciences like nutrients, and even two different fields of, xenobiology, the study of humans, who they call giants, and the study of cat civilization. But there's one subject here that really stands out. Yeah, they have a required class called A Pig's Peace. It's basically applied psychology and emotional intelligence. They're learning practical skills for how to face their fears and manage problems. This suggests a society that puts a really high value on mental and emotional health. The students themselves seem to have a pretty wide intellectual range. While our guy Paul is expecting a simple art project, his friend Jake, who he calls the smartest pig, is predicting a project that involves robots and mechanics. This points to a society that's technologically ambitious and intellectually diverse for sure. Okay, now let's zoom out even further, because this is where things get really fascinating. Paul's diary doesn't just talk about his own society, it goes into incredible detail about their knowledge of another major civilization, the cats. And they don't just call them cats, no. In their formal studies, they're known as the Civilization of Greatness. Just that name alone tells you so much. It suggests a deep respect, maybe even admiration, and points to a complex diplomatic or historical relationship between the two. The pigs basically have an intelligence file on them. They know the cat population size, their core value, which is kindness, and their unique government, a triumvirate ruled by 3 leaders. This isn't just casual hearsay. This is formal, recorded knowledge being taught in schools. And the level of detail is just incredible. The pigs know the cat leaders by name and by their specific roles. Canny, the political ruler, Sir Genifold, a warrior diplomat who fights with kindness, and Bella, the head of their intelligentsia. This shows a remarkably sophisticated understanding of a foreign power. So let's step back for a minute. After going through this single, personal diary, what have we actually learned? Let's put it all together and see what Paul's diary really tells us about his entire civilization. It's pretty amazing, right? From just a few diary entries about snacks and school projects, we've pieced together the portrait of a highly advanced society. They have a monetized economy, a really robust education system that actually values emotional well being, and a surprisingly nuanced grasp of foreign affairs. It turns out an entire world was hiding in the random stuff of a single pig's day. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? If we just look a little closer at our own lives, what incredible stories and complex systems are waiting to be discovered in all the simple things around us? Thanks for watching.